Hey GED students, it's GED question of the day time. And again, we're faced with a problem that could show up on the first five of your GED math test, the problems where you don't get a calculator. So let's take a look. I see, what is the greatest common factor that could be used to reduce the fraction below? Now, good news. If you don't like fractions and you hate reducing and you've always thought that was super challenging, this isn't really a fraction problem. It's simpler than that. Read the directions. It says, what is the greatest common factor? What they're really asking us to do is to find the GCF of these two numbers below. So when you reduce a fraction, that's one of the ways to go. It's to find the GCF. So really what they're asking me here, even though it seems to be phrased a little funny, is to find the GCF of the numbers 28 and 70, the greatest common factor. And we've been learning a trick for that. The trick for that is to go one factor at a time until you can't, until the two numbers don't have anything else in common. And that way we can build a greatest common factor. So when I look at these two numbers, I happen to notice, and I hope you notice, that they're both even. That's just crying out to me. Both these numbers are even, and I know that all even numbers are divisible by 2. So I'm going to choose to pull a 2 out. Now, what if you noticed a different factor? It doesn't matter what factor you notice that they have in common. We'll all get to the same place in the end. But I'm going to divide out the first one that I noticed, a 2. So I'm going to do that through sight division. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 7 3 times, remainder 1, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. Again, if you don't know how to do sight or short division, it is a beautiful skill. Go check out the video on that. Okay, now I examine these two numbers. They got a little smaller, so it should be easier to see any common factors. Now, they're not both even anymore, so a lot of students will just stop here. But careful, 2 isn't the only factor in the world. Be sure to look for all at least your first 5 prime factors. My goodness, that'll get you most of the way. 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. And I always tell my students, make sure you memorize your 7 times tables because 7s are the ones I don't have a divisibility trick for. I just have to recognize them when I see them. But indeed, I do know that both 14 and 35 are on the 7 times table, so I'll divide out a 7. 7 goes into 14 twice, and 7 goes into 35 5 times. Now take a look at these two numbers, 2 and 5. What's the greatest common factor, or the biggest number that could reduce them both, or any factor, really? The only thing that I could use to reduce 2 and 5 is 1. And when 1's as big as you can find, you know you're done. I always joke 1 and done on these problems. And so really, the only important factors here are 2 and 7. So I pulled them out through division. I'll put them back together through multiplication. So my greatest common factor is a 2 and a 7. They have both a 2 and a 7 in common. So it'll be 2 times 7, or 14. So the greatest common factor that could be used to reduce this fraction is 14. If you have any questions about this or any other GED topic, be sure to drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it.